And it is quite interesting when people say, how old's the Carmen? And you turn around and say, well, I am the 508th master. And people celebrate 25 years or 50 years or something. And it's quite humbling when you look back and see there's a lot of people who've gone before, and you wonder who will come afterwards.
I joined to network, and by network I don't mean to sell anybody anything, to learn. And I think that's a big thing for the Carmen, because I actually wanted to meet people like you, actually. Things at the time wanted to get into TFL, because I would just picked up, the MD of the RHA, and we weren't particularly well engaged in that. I just wanted to meet people in London, that could help me in London as a trade association.
I'm third generation, and I've just sort of fell into it. Anybody that wants to work within our industry can. They can. In some there is something for everybody. I think when I've been presenting to school kids before, I've got like 50 plus jobs up on the screen, and they're like, really? You do that? You do that? You do that?
And going back to the point about the military, actually, just before we do that, they were the founders of logistics, weren't they? Ultimately, it's back in the day, and that's where it all came from. So the two coming together is a perfectly natural, thing to do.
And it's steeped in history. I do like the old with the new, and keeping that. And again, it's helped my family as well. It's helped me in my career as well. Developing my career over the years, meeting people, getting advice and taking it back to the city, and meeting our common councilmen who make the decisions in the city. They come to our events and you don't usually get close to them.
Now, how, from a CAM perspective, how do we see ourselves remaining relevant going forward? Hello and welcome to Roadway, the podcast. And today I'm delighted to be joined by the Worshipful Company of the Carmen. So I've got the Master, the Senior Warden and the Junior Warden. And we're going to explore, what is the Carmen? What does it mean? Why has it got such a long tradition and history associated with this industry that we work in? What is its relevance today? And what is it like to be the Master of the Carmen? So, let's start. Andrew, Vince, Allison, welcome. If we can start off with you, Master, and I will call you Master in this formal sense, because as the podcast unpacks, we'll understand what that traditional element is, to the Carmen and why it's still relevant today. So, what is the Carmen's relevance today, please, Master?
I think the Carmen's relevance today is it's probably more relevant than it's been for a while, actually. If we trace the history of it back to its origins of representing the trade in the City of London, I think that's as important today as ever. We have many bodies within the trades that the liveries and the city have supported. And again, with the pressures that everybody is under, an independent position where people can get together, camaraderie, exchanging of ideas, best practice, and those conversations that you might not get in the formal surroundings are great to generate. And having people from such a wide breadth, a wide church in the same congregation, the conversations that we've had and I've had personally sometimes blows your mind of who you've spoken to and the subjects you've covered in an evening.
We'll come back to that as we go through the podcast. Alison, from your perspective, how does a company engage with its members and the wider sector? So just really, what's it all about, and how does it actually engage with the sector today?
So our members, as Andy said, Master said, comes from a wide range, whether that's PSV, HGV, heavy goods, light vehicles, the charities as well. There's a lot of charities that are, and we all work together. Would you say we all network and work together with trying to keep up with the legislation that is there? We have a lot of lawyers that are with us as well,
and the regulators as well,
and regulators. So it helps us make sure that we're on the right path of where we're going. But yeah, we all talk to each other really to try and help each other.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I've answered that question quite right, really, but
I think the answer is different to everybody, and it's what you get from it is the age-old adage. And I run the trade association, and I always say to people, They say to me, well, Norwich didn't do anything for us. And I say, well, what do you do to engage with it? And what do you do to ask it? So I think it is a very good answer to the question. And Vince, from your perspective, same question really, in terms of how do we engage with members and what's its relevance today at the Carmen?
Well, I think the relevance is, as the Master alluded to earlier, is the camaraderie and the specialism, and by specialism being one of, with 77th livery out of 113 at the present time. And we work with other liveries as well. We cross-pollinate with advice and information, share information. So I think that's really key. And being in the city and engage, being part of the City of London Corporation with the Lord Mayor as well, and the sheriffs and all the common councilmen, and we engage with ministers and everything else as well, from government up to across the world. Really, we've got people from America, Canada, Germany, Italy, who have become members over the years, which is, it's quite good with the 500 plus members we've got at the present time. And I think that's what makes us relevant, because we mix the old with the new as well, the old traditions with the new modern day, and move on to engage with other people as well. And I think that's what the younger people and people starting out in their careers like as well, personally. And that's what drew me to it, if I'm honest. I worked in the city for years and really didn't know. I knew about the liveries, knew of them, but Carmen I didn't. And then all of a sudden I got in, I was managing the workshops at the time. And all of a sudden I got invited by our boss saying, could you bring a vehicle to cart marking? And it used to be midweek, and the rest is history. I just got engaged, and then one of the court members said to me, do you want to join? One of the other liverymen, Ian Golder, and then I've never looked back, really.
And there we go. And I remember, just to tell Mike, so I'm obviously a member of the CAM, and we'll go on to the ties in a moment. The reason why I joined was a bit more, I think it's the same sentiment, but I'll use a different set of words. I joined to network, really. And by network, I didn't mean to sell anybody anything, to learn. And I think that's a big thing for the Carmen, because I actually wanted to meet people like you, actually, Vince, at the time. I wanted to get into TFL, because I would just picked up, the MD of the RHA, and we weren't particularly well engaged in that. I just wanted to meet people in London, that could help me in London as a trade association, not to buy and sell and to make money, just to actually have the conversation, to support and represent, which as a trade association. But I think the CAM does that the other way around as well to people. It supports you, it represents you, it's charity, it's that fellowship. And I always describe it in a very, to the next gen in the RHA, which will probably be cut out with this video. It was like the Cheers bar, where you go in and you just meet people that are like-minded, with similar challenges, and you have a nice half an hour or two, and then you walk out again and you feel that you've learned something. You feel almost inspired to some degree as well. So that's how I would describe it.
I think as well, you don't feel alone. If you're floundering a little bit and thinking, am I doing this right? Am I reading this right? Am I working this right? There is a lot of people that you can sound off and be trusted within, isn't there? I've got this situation. Am I reading this right? Is this right? And they've normally had that experience, haven't they? That's what I find. Oh, I've had that, Yeah.
I've actually rung the master up there with his business, asking for advice. Sometimes it's free, sometimes we get charged, but most of the time it's free, which I hasten to add. I've not been charged yet, have I, Larson?
There's a couple of pints on the bar, I think, I needed.
Yeah, and having that I can ring Allison up, I can ring the master up, anyone on the call, and yourself even included, Richard. Now I'll ring you up, and you can get advice and pointed in the right direction. I think that's
it's worth its weight in gold.
100%.
It is, and it's that thing that people need every day, I think, particularly in this challenging, evolving world. So the faster the pace of change, the more relevant the Carmen is to me, because it's, you can draw back and get on the experience, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the youth and the enthusiasm coming through. I think those two mixed together are quite important, which is a lovely segue into the question. I'll start off with you, Master, for me on this one. So what is the history and the heritage? So it's sort of gone from horse-drawn cart to electric vehicle. and all those 500 years plus it's been. Say, could you just take us back to what it was in the beginning, and for as best we can in the time we've got, how it's evolved to where it is today?
Certainly. I mean, we can trace our history very, very far back to 1272. Although the Carmen didn't actually get organised as a formal body till 1517, where we promised to transfer and furnish the king with his wine and keep the streets clean, and that took us a long way. And the company has had ups and downs over those 500 odd years. When you think that Henry VIII was on the throne with Catherine of Aragon as his wife, and you go now forward to where we are, we have covered a fair few monarchs along our way. We eventually became the Livery Company in the City of London. So the Livery Companies are those who represent their trades and bodies. There's 113 other of them in there, with everything from horns, as in cow horn and the such like, who are now material technologists, goldsmiths, it goes on. But we can trace our roots back and how we've developed. And we were entrusted to register and control the vehicles within the City of London, the old City of London, which is where, as you mentioned previously with cart marking, we branded the wooden carts with branding irons, and that was the first registration system that in the world that we can track ourselves back to. And we've continued to flourish and grow from there, with the ups and downs like many industries of bodies have had. And it is quite interesting when people say, how old's the Carmen? And you turn around and say, well, I am the 508th master. And people celebrate 25 years or 50 years or something. And it's quite humbling when you look back and see there's a lot of people who've gone before, and you wonder who will come afterwards, apart from subject to those in the room and election. So yeah, it is fantastic. We are trusted with training, hence the City and Guilds organisation, which many may be familiar with, but I certainly didn't know about how it came together of the City of London and the guilds associated with it that brought that training organisation forward. So City and Guilds is part of that, with the livery history, right through to our charitable work. And as a livery movement, we provide somewhere in the region of 80 to 85 million pounds worth of donations and charitable pro bono work per year, which is phenomenal, I think, in any organisation. And it's also the working, I mean, sort of Vincent and Allison alluded to it, the cross-pollination between the liveries. So recently, one of the Sea Cadet units in London, their minibus absolutely bombed its MOT, I think was the technical term. And they're left unable, because where they're based, to get around so much. And between the Worshipful Company of Management consultants, the Carmen, some Carmen members, and a charitable donation, they are shortly going to receive a new, not brand new, but a new minibus to keep that Sea Cadet unit on the road, with a really, really nice vehicle for them. And it's things like that that feeds back into the community, I think, is really, really powerful too. So there's always been that side to the Carmen as well.
Thanks for that. Now listen, I mean, it's important to preserve heritage, but it's also important to move forward. So from a Carmen perspective, how and again, obviously, as the next in line subject to election, that's quite a different thing to balance tradition with modern industry needs. Right?
It is, and I loved, one of the reasons why I joined the Carmen was for the traditions. Some of the things that we do is very traditional in our meetings and when we're out at suppers. I think that one of the traditional things for me is the school engagement, and that's one of the reasons why I joined the Carmen, was the education. So I worked for D2N2, Derbyshire, Derby, Nottinghamshire, as an enterprise advisor, and a Carmen came to me and said, you need to be involved with the Carmen with that. And the traditions that we carry on with that, we've just got links with Oxford University. So although we're keeping traditional, we're now moving forward as well, like Oxford University, what they're doing with electric vehicles, or But also with the Benevolent Trust, we help with schooling for some. I think one of the things that I saw was a student at St Paul's Cathedral, I think it was, where they helped them complete schooling because something happened within their personal life, their family's personal life. And I think that's fantastic to be able to support the kids that maybe wouldn't get that chance. And I think that tradition is very good. But what we have to think of is, for me, what the tradition is good, but how can it be modern today?
Yeah.
How can it be useful today? Where should it be today? And I think we took on quite a lot with colleges and the university.
Yeah.
And from Vincent, can I just ask you this question? I mean, like all of us, probably you're a member of a number of professional organisations.
Yeah.
It goes with a role in the territory. What separates the Carmen in your mind from the other?
Well, I think it is, as we keep going back to, I think it's the traditions, but it's also, you end up becoming a freeman of the livery. Then you can go to liveryman, you become a freeman of the City of London. You get to walk your sheep over London Bridge and everything else. But I think it's the unique experiences as well. You mix with military. We have the military joint services awards. Royalty, Her Royal Highness, we've had royalty open our new hall, come to our dinners, and to, be involved in that is quite something, or quite key, to have these, ministers, all these, we have professional people coming in to speak at events. And I was going to touch on the charity, the Benevolent Trust as well, the amount of work that does, for Trelaws, with the bus, with equipment for, different hospitals and schools and everything else for the disabled, as well as the, teaching and helping with apprenticeships and everything else. So having all these different bits that add in, and, Allison done a great job on the education committee, bringing schools in. It was just phenomenal to see them faces come into the hall and listen be fascinated by the history, listen to people, and then asking questions to the people presenting to them. I just thought it was just, engaging with them, the young people. Hopefully one day, one or two of them will become Carmen in the livery. And, as all masters and past masters say, one day you can be standing in my position, come onto the court, you can be a master as well, and, go through the Warden. So I think it's key. And I love mixing with people, and that's really what's kept me in it and made me go on, and that you can make a difference as well. You can help make a big difference.
Yeah, and I think to us as members of CAM, certainly my experience, and I am a newbie in comparison to your guys' experience, is I think there's a lot of what I call unofficial in-house mentoring going on as well. So you meet people, and that really, I certainly learn something every time I go to an event or sit next to somebody I've never met before. And I mean that in a positive way. And it makes you reflect and just think from a leadership perspective, if you're developing as a leader in this sector or this space, you get a lot for free, by going to a Carmen event, if you actually take that on board. So I think there's a real relevance to it when you look into the next generations of what you can learn by being a part of an association like that through the tradition, if that makes sense. Which again is a lovely segue. I'm good at these segues. Into the future. So we work in and going back to the point about the military, actually, just before we do that, they were the founders of logistics, weren't they? Ultimately, it's back in the day, and that's where it all came from. So the two coming together is a perfectly natural, thing to do. Looking forward, we've got a digital world, we've got challenges around skills. We've got current challenges at the time of recording around the costs in this industry. We've got all sorts of challenges. Now, how, from a CAM perspective, how do we see ourselves remaining relevant going forward? And I'll go Master again first for that question.
I think the beauty that keeps us relevant is certainly, if you take the two previous masters to myself, and then through myself through to Allison, Vince, and you then certainly look to others in the court that are coming up through the ranks. We are all working masters. There are some liveries where the masters don't necessarily work. They may have been long retired. That has been the case in Carmen at times. But we're now in the middle of a 5-year transition of modernising where everybody's working. And by the fact that we're working, we are in the middle of this and all the challenges you so rightly just mentioned, Richard. That keeps us real. It keeps us relevant, I believe. And I think it's important that we continue to have people in the company that are in it, right slap bang in the middle of it day to day, so that we keep the relevance, we keep, as Allison's alluded to, with connections like Oxford University, etc. We're also in the middle of those at the forefront of the technology, the forefront of thinking, and the forefront of the regulations as well. That's what keeps us in I think, a unique perspective and position. And I think it helps greatly with taking the company forward.
So we walk a mile in the shoes of the industry, which I think is really, really important. We're actually...
I think that would be a good way of putting it, yes.
Isn't that? Alison, mostly, so we spoke about next generation, and with that in mind, how do you see the Carmen supporting the next generations coming into the industry?
Well, with the education committee, we're already, as you said before, we're already mentoring. We have got links with the Oxford University, I've said, but we've had schools in from all over the country. I've had another inquiry today from South Wales that they can come into the hall. So I think when we tell our stories, how we're coming up through the industry, and I'm not just saying this for women. I'm third generation, and I've just sort of fell into it. Anybody that wants to work within our industry can. They can. In some there is something for everybody. I think when I've been presenting to school kids before, I've got like 50 plus jobs up on the screen, and they're like, really? You do that? You do that? You do that? Yes, we need chemists for our ADR. Yes, we need teachers to teach. Yes, we need transport managers. We need everything. I asked them once, give me in 5 words, 10 words, what you think transport and logistics is. And they couldn't, they just didn't know. They didn't know. So we had hundreds of kids through so far from when I took over, and I asked the same question every time they come in, and the others that stood up and given our lives what we're doing, and then they get it. It's air, sea, land, rail, and that's all of us, all in a different way, but it's getting from A to B, isn't it? And we need everything in between. So I think then they start getting excited, actually, that it isn't a lorry driver. It could be being a lawyer. It could be, or it might excite them to be a lorry driver. Some do, or a forklift driver, or a warehouse manager, anything. And I think our sector's undersold, really.
Yeah, definitely.
There is not many people who say, I always wanted to be in logistics. And if you ask a lot of people what logistics are, they say that lorry driver, forklift driver, and they may come to a loader or something like that, or a warehouse operative. They don't get all the tap skills you said, the marketing executives, the communications, the warehousing, the IT systems that are used in this industry.
And the 4 that are sat here, we work in it in a very different way.
Yeah.
Or fell into it in a very different way.
Yeah. Definitely. I think it's a really, I've got a question coming in, don't worry. It's the easy one. No. I think it's a really good point, because I was sat in a meeting only last week with some very senior people, and I asked exactly the same question: define for me logistics. And there were people that work in the industry, and they all got a slightly different inference of what it means. I think it's a very confusing word, is logistics, and it's our, I think, like I say, I stumbled into this industry, and it's a great example for social mobility if you want it as well. So you can work at all levels and go at your own pace and developing what interests you. Yeah. And it's if you want to do it, there's opportunities for you to do it.
100%.
So this is not a trick question, but it's just a neat one. So we've talked about probably what are the challenges do you see over the next decade for the industry and therefore the Carmen?
Well, we've got everything coming on board. We've got AI coming in. You think if we go back to COVID times, not that I like to talk about them, but we all had to go on screen to keep the Carmen literally going. Yeah. Having our meetings and having speakers, keeping people in communication to everyone, because everything was done at the hall, or court meetings or events and everything else. So it's been able to change and adapt very quickly into these areas, Also, we've got to look at the people. You know, I think we've got to keep banging on that we've got to have the younger generations in and reach out to all these different sectors. And I think that's what's worked over the last few years. You know, you go in, there's HR, there's lawyers, as you said, Ali, there's everyone. Like, I started as a mechanic, you know, that's how, and then into waste management, logistics and everything else. So you've got this whole plethora that you can attach to through delivery. But I do go back to having relevant events and speakers and everything else, and networking is how we keep relevant. Cart marking does a wonderful job of showcasing this by having a bicycle shown, you know, a hand cart, a horse and cart, historic lorries, up to the present electric vehicles, hydrogen vehicles that we're showcasing and everything else. Like, you know, last year at RHA, we had your classroom there, the simulator and everything else. So it's getting all them ideas out there, you know. So that's how you keep relevant, is changing, you know, over the years and adapting, but never forgetting the traditions as well.
We're going to come back to that, in spot. And the only thing we didn't have last year was the weather.
Yeah.
But this year, I'm sure it will shine.
It's always sunshine usually.
Ducks.
It was. I did have some empathy with the person branding when the rain was coming down.
It was wet, wasn't
It
it?
was very wet. Yes. Made a fortune out of umbrellas that day. If if we just may move on to leadership and priorities, because just to, without going into the actual detail of the Carmen, we've touched on it before. There's 3 levels really that you can join as. Well, you join at one level and you can progress within, and then when you get to the liveryman level, which is the tie, obviously we're all very proudly wearing today. It's really, and you get a chance to become the master. You know, where you lead the Carmen, which is a huge responsibility, and also an achievement, you know, I may say. So every master has his year. I think you're mid-term at this moment in time is approaching.
Yeah, nearly at midpoint, yeah.
And you get to set out a set of priorities during your mastership, is that the right
Yes,
way?
yeah, master's year, yeah.
What are your priorities for this year?
It's been a focus on the continuing the change and modernising of the company, whilst at the same time making sure we're running events and we're engaging with the right people for the members. So my focus has been on the sort of the company and its members, engagement with the city corporation and the City of London and the wider community, such as the Sea Cadets, etc., and some of the charitable work. I'm still amazed at the connections and where this livery network can take you. I know they say you're 6 steps away from the President of the United States or whatever. Definitely the case with the Carmen. The people, the doors that have been opened, you sometimes walk away going, how on earth did we get that person there? And it's great to be able to help others in the way that others have helped myself and those around us. So that's been the focus. Also with some fun, because you need to, whether you're a master or not, you need to not be able to take yourself too seriously. So when you are pushing a wine barrel up and down Guildhall Yard on the 4th of July, and everybody is shouting and screaming advice at you, it does level the playing field. So there's got to be some fun in there as well, with lots of good intent.
Just write that down 4th of July, that's fine. I can shout advice with everybody else. Alison, so you're, at this moment in time, you're the senior warden, so you're subject to votes. You're going to be the next master.
Andy will tell you exactly how many days it is, I'm sure.
I'm sure, which is because you enjoy the experience and don't want it to end. So going into next year, so what's your key areas of focus?
So I come in on the 19th of October, as long as the votes go that way, the 19th of October. One of my things, you did the City Harvest, didn't you, as your charity, and you focused on that very well over a number of things. Mine is military. So I've got, I don't come from a military background, but I did have an uncle that was Royal Engineers or Logistics Corps, I'm not sure which one it was, and I had a granddad in the Navy. But I'm not really a military background, but a couple of years ago, there was something that really, really did it for me, for military to be my charity, was you said about cross-pollinating with the gloves. we'd got the Army tank squadron that we're affiliated to could have gloves, but not to cold weather and not to hard wearing. So the Carmen had a whip round. They got the money together, went to the glovers then made them gloves at cost. That's why I like the Carmen. Yeah. So one of the things that I was thinking 2 or 3 years ago when that happened, if I got to this stage, what could I do? So my charities, or my focus for the year, yours was the food, wasn't it? Feeding kids, really, kids and families. And I thought, okay, that's done. So mine's going to be, how can I help the military? How can these lads and lasses that come out of the military, how can we help them? Or while they're there, how can we help them while we're there? And it might be something as simple as fundraising, and they have a PlayStation on a ship, or they there's all sorts. Another team wanted new rugby shirts. So okay, can we fundraise for that? And get involved with the military. We do a lot with the military already, don't we? We've got and cadets, and also cadets, and I think that's really important. So I don't think we'd had anybody that had focused on that for a while. So I thought, right, that's going to be my focus, to see if we can make their lives a little bit easier for something that they do for us. So some of the events that I shall do is we go to Leconfield in a few weeks anyway. That's under your banner. But the Chelsea pensioners, we sponsored a Chelsea pensioner come in this year. We should go and have lunch with them. Just really pay back a bit of the time that they've given us, but also to those that are still serving. There's some very good little things that are coming up that would make their lives a little bit easier. So that's my focus, really, personal focus.
And I think that's
really important as well. Sorry, I think that's really important because also, without spilling any beans, as Master, you get invited to a number of military events, and there is conversations there that would not be repeated, obviously.
Yeah.
But the military are looking at how industry, and especially in this sector, can provide tools, training, advice in a whole wide range of issues in the theatres of operation. And we know at the moment, with everything that's going on, that number of theatres of operation is only increasing on what feels like a weekly, if not a daily basis. And they are looking to industry and the livery movement as a conduit to help you that. So I think it's an excellent plan that you've got for your year, and your timing in relation to relevance is fantastic.
No, it's that fellowship part that I always come back to with the Carmen. It's about helping, it's about supporting, it's about understanding. Vince, although subject to elections, probably too, you will be the master after Allison. What's your thoughts? It might be too early to say, it might still be formulating the thoughts, but what's your focus going to be?
Yeah, well, we've been fortunate enough, the past masters now and junior wardens, senior wardens and everything else, we work closely together. So my focus is going to be, keeping some of that good work going and not forgetting it and keeping it relevant, because it fits in with the city theme where the Lord Mayors that come in, they start something and you carry it on, and then you bring your own touch to it as well, and your own enthusiasm and professionalism to. But one of the things that I really want to do is, focus on the priorities and the members and keeping us relevant, listen to the members. I want to be looking at apprenticeships again and everything else, as I started as an apprenticeship. It means a lot to me. And because I work for the City of London, I'm going to be looking at one of the charities, because usually the city the Lord Mayor has free charities. So I'm going to be looking at that as well as apprenticeships and everything else, and keeping some of the good work on that the past masters have done as well, and keep us relevant. And, it's working with institutes like being here today, keeping us relevant, speaking to, institutes like yourself is just amazing, and other institutes. I think that's key, because you can go out to everyone. You've got an audience out there that might think, well, that cart marking, we'll have our truck in that. And then that brings them to join in, or even if they just come to one event, that supports us, and we raise money for charities that can help others again. So it's keeping that focus, really, I think.
It's a great answer. I know we're going to have a closing reflections now. So there's 3 questions. Yes, I got 3 questions last, which I'm going to ask you all individually, and then I'll close. So the first question, so I'm going to ask you all this question. What does the Worship Company of the Carmen, mean to you personally? Alison, what's that you first?
Personally, do you know, I've made so many new friends. What I could truly call people friends. People that will pick up the phone and say, "Hey, you were a bit down the other week. Are you okay? Is work tough?" And I've loved that. That's me personally. Just personally,
That's
I think it's
fine.
brilliant.
Same question, and seeing as we're all being personal, Andrew, or Colin must know.
For somebody who left school with not a huge number of qualifications, who started at the railway as a plater, to walk into some of the places, meet the people I've met, the places I've been to, and the journey I've had since being introduced to the Carmen has been humbling, mind-blowing, and an honour. It's also done loads for my wife and my children. It's opened them up to a new world, and in a very welcoming way. And I suppose the other thing is the opportunity to work with leaders in the industry, the previous masters, Allison, Vince. That in itself, to work with people of this quality, is an honour, and you pay good money for it if you were going to get mentored by them. And I just absolutely love it.
Good answer. Vince, so true.
Well, I'm so proud to be part of this personally. And the reason I sort of said it before, I started as a mechanic, never ever dreamed that I could walk into and, potentially become the master subject to election. And some of the events that I've been to and everything else, just never dreamed of it. And that's really been great. But meeting the people I've met, in present company and other people, and yourself, it's just absolutely amazing. And that's what it's brought to me. And it's steeped in history. I do like the old with the new, and keeping that. And again, it's helped my family as well. It's helped me in my career as well, developing my career over the years, meeting people, getting advice and taking it back to the city, and meeting our common councilmen who make the decisions in the city. They come to our events and you don't usually get close to them, and all them sort of things. But I love helping with the charity as well. I get a real pride out of being part of that as well. Yeah.
And before I go on to that, I'll ask myself the same question. So for me, if you can do that, it's about, I think, picking up on your point, I think, Master, I feel very blessed to be part of the Camera, because I'm just what I describe it, a lad from Brighouse, that left school and did what I did for a long time, and then got into logistics and sort of found my way. And I just think, going back to the traditional point, it's such a relevant body is the Carmen. We people say it's old fashioned, it's our day. It's not, because everything that happened 200, 300, 400 years ago has got a relevance to what's happening now. And if you understand the past, you can shape the future. Somebody once said.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was, somebody did. So that was good. Next question, we've got another 2. What has been the most rewarding aspect of your involvement? We'll go to you first, Master. So far.
I think the giving back, so being able to make arrangements for the support with the Sea Cadets, the work with City Harvest, helping feed people who can't get decent meals, helping that organisation, which has included working in a warehouse. And we all know the ambient temperatures of a warehouse in November or December. Those sort of things, giving back and the help, that's the bit that personally mean the most to me.
Alison?
I'm similar. It's the seeing the kids come through the hall, because I was involved with that education, or when we sit down for dinner, because we have trumpeters that come, that we support a couple of schools, and the trumpeters come to do that traditional fanfare, and to actually see them blossom, step forward, if you like. I think that's fantastic. It's definitely helping in the way that I can, and that was more time than money. But the reward that you get back is massive. When you see that light bulb moment with a child that said, well, I draw. Oh, have you ever thought about technical drawing then? I come from Derbyshire and we've got Bombardier and Rolls Royce. They're looking for draftsmen. Oh, I didn't think of that. It's just, that's my reward. It's not necessarily always money, is it? No. It's the time that you put in, and by goodness, do you get a lot more out, don't you?
I mean, if you look at the joint services, talking about the military connection as well, when you see the Sea Cadets, and that's the first year we've had them present at the joint services, and the Royal Highness walks down the steps and talks to every single Sea Cadet, and she even adjusts the step that she's on so she's looking them in the eye, and you watch all of them grow by about a foot as she's walking down that step, and she didn't miss a single cadet. The security were doing their best to try and get her down the stairs, and she was having none of it. And she gave her time to them, and you see what impact that can have on those cadets going forward. You think, yeah, that's what we need
character
to do.
Building and shaping the future, and that's the point where it doesn't have to be about the latest digital way of presenting something. It's about, going back to your point, I think, Vince, about the tradition of, it's steeped in history. Same question for you, Vince, which, just to recap, what is the most rewarding aspect of our involvement so far?
It's a bit what they've been saying, but there's a couple of other bits for me. Because I was, what got me involved was cart marking, becoming chairman of that and running it, managing that for the last few years, and carry on to, and I want to be involved in the future as well, even though you've got to take a bit of a back step when, leading up to being master. And we went through COVID and the numbers dropped off, and we had to try and keep the show going, and we did. And now we're back up to the numbers of 1,000 people, 600 sitting at the lunch. It's just incredible. And it makes me feel very proud to see that, that we've managed to that, because it says we are still relevant and we're doing the right thing. And the other thing is, it goes back to, I'm a trustee of a couple of charities, and, raising money and helping apprenticeships. We do the apprentice challenge across London, using all different modes of transport, and who gets there, gets back to the hall, Carmen Hall, the quickest. You start there and you're given all these things. Seeing that and enduring that, that's just brilliant. And, the philanthropy and everything else is just key.
Do you know, that's really good, because my son was 14 when he did that, when he joined, and he did that the first year and won, but he was with Leon Daniels. Well, so if he hadn't, he was in trouble.
And he beat me.
He was in trouble.
With my
he did. But that was phenomenal, wasn't it? To get a 14-year-old involved with that, doing every form of transport with £5 and running, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Right. Final question for you each. So, what would you say to someone considering becoming involved with the company? Vince, we'll go with you first.
I would say you meet, you meet a lot of like-minded people. You can make a difference. You can go on the journey, and as I think we keep alluding to, there's so many spectacular events that you go to, and you can get knowledge. It helped me develop my career, as I said earlier. And that's what it can do for anyone, and you can get involved. You don't just have to be a member. We actively say to people, come on, get involved, come on a call, come on the call, be on one of the committees, help. You're on the membership committee, straight away you've come in and taken that challenge, and it's brilliant. And with your experience, it's just great how we can, and that's a prime example. Just come and get involved, and you'll enjoy the ride.
Agree.
Excuse the pun.
No, it's true. Alison, same question for you.
My big notes was join, do as much as you can, because the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. The same as going to the RAF base down the road to talk to guys there that, how do we get into being a DGSA or an ADR, or what can I do when I call? Just give that. If you give that time, put that time in, my goodness, you get a lot of reward out as a team. And we work individually and we work as teams. It's so, put in as much as you can, and you'll get out. And like you say, the ride is phenomenal. Things that we've done is phenomenal. I'd have never dreamt of doing some of the things that I've done, or seen the people that I've done. Never.
Master, final question to you is that same question. What would you say to someone considering becoming involved with the company?
Get involved. Give it a go. Be prepared to give, not get. And you will have some proper pinch myself moments that really do lead you to believe, how on earth did I get here and how on earth did we do that? Whilst at the same time using your skills to help others. So it could be joining a committee, but that's not for everybody. It could be shouting encouragement at a barrel racing.
Pancake. I'm thinking of pancake.
Pancake racing again. There's different racing. There's barrel racing and there's pancake racing. It's unique skills in each area. Through to being a traffic marshal at the cart marking, and on all sorts of things in the middle. Appeals through other livery movements to join and help them with their actions as well. So I would say give it a go. Open your eyes, open yourself, get stuck in, and you will have the ride of a lifetime.
And don't forget your sheep.
Don't forget your sheep.
And don't forget your sheep, which is for another episode. So, Master, Alison, Vince, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. That's been good. And that was the latest episode of the podcast. And I think you'll see that the Worship, the Company of the Carmen, is not just about tradition, it's about real life, it's about today, it's about that connection, it's about professionalism, it's about leadership, fellowship, empathy, community. And as I always say, it's like the cheers bar. So I do encourage you to find out more about the Carmen. We will have the link on the bottom of this podcast. And thank you very much for your time.